Hey everyone, looking at corresponding angles here. So we're continuing from the previous video. Now, we specifically discovered that when you have parallel lines, two or more parallel lines, and then a transversal that crosses over them, that intersects, then the angles which are corresponding to each other have to be equal. So corresponding angles in parallel lines are equal. So what you can see here is angles A and E, which have already been marked for you. Angle E, if angle A is 120, then angle E also has to be 120. These are corresponding angles because they're both to the left of the transversal and above the parallel lines. If I were to look at another example here, B and F, so for example, if F was 60 degrees, B would also have to be 60 degrees, and that's because they're both on the right hand side of the transversal and above each respective parallel line. Now, if you're asked to explain this in an exam or a test, you can just say they are corresponding. You don't need to explain the specific parts about the transversal, but it's important that you're able to spot that. So again, there's another pair of corresponding angles which are equal. There's another pair of corresponding angles which are equal. Now remember, parallel lines don't always have to be going horizontally across the page. You can also get angles like this, for example. So you can see we've got parallel lines, the two lines with the red dots at the end, and the corresponding angles are already labeled for you. Now there's four pairs of corresponding angles. You've got DH, you've got these two, which is A and E, and then you've got B and F, and then C and G. So all of these that have matching colors are considered corresponding angles and also equal to each other. The other thing to notice, if I just move this around, what you'll see is the angles stay the same. So even if I were to be in this direction, the distance between the parallel lines doesn't really make a difference, but it's a nice way of showing that, well, actually, it's essentially because they're parallel, it's the same intersection that's happening here. So I can move the transversal to a different angle, and then you can see as you get closer, it's the same intersection angle that we have. So these are corresponding, 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 corresponding. So they're quite easy to spot once you know what a corresponding angle looks like. Remember, we can also get angles that are labeled just like this. So we might need to, for example, angle 43 here. If we want to refer to the one at the bottom rather than one at the top, we could call it TUR. And then this angle here would be QRO. So look at an example here. What would you label this pink angle at the top? Well, if you trace your finger along the two arms of the angle, it's ORS, or we can call it SRO. So we'll look at a few more examples here, but the examples are going to be very straightforward. So if you have a look at these questions, it should be nice and easy. You can see that angle 1 corresponds with angle 5, angle 2 corresponds with angle 6, angle 3 is on the left hand side and below the parallel line, so that's going to correspond with 7, and then angle 4 and angle 8 are corresponding. So that's just a quick example of matching corresponding angles. Now if you were to get a question like this where it says write down the missing angle and give your reason, the first thing you want to do is spot the parallel lines. So you can see there's the parallel lines, there's a transversal. Once you've spotted that, you can see these two angles are in the same position as each other, so below the transversal to the right, so they are corresponding and therefore they are equal. So 32 degrees, and the way you'd write this is you can just write because they are corresponding angles on parallel lines. So another example here, write down the missing angle and give your reason. So we can immediately see they are corresponding. So 12 is equal to E, or E is equal to 12. And the reason is corresponding angles and parallel lines are equal. Another example here, you can see the transversal is labeled in red. It says, show that angle F is 50 degrees. Now, this is not a corresponding angle. F and that 50 that's given to us do not correspond with each other. So what we need to do is work our way through this using the rules that we already know. So D, you may remember when two lines cross over each other, two straight lines, the angles which are opposite each other are equal. So they're vertically opposite. So this 50 is equal to, is the same as D. So D is equal to 50 because vertically opposite angles are equal. And once we know what D is, this is quite good because we know that D corresponds with F. So D is equal to F, which is also going to be 50 degrees because they are corresponding angles in parallel lines, so they're equal. Okay, so that is corresponding angles. We're going to be looking at a next part of angles in the next video.